I'm your host, Mike Kelly Lomu, and you're listening to the Voyagers podcast. We've gotten a lot of questions about how and why we went to Tonga. We answered a lot of those questions in episode 1, but we didn't go on this journey alone. We're joined with our friend Brit, who traveled with us to Tonga, fell in love, and is still living the island life. Brit, thanks for being here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Britany Beck. I was born and raised in Spanish Fork, Utah. I am the third of 4 kids. I was raised LDS. That is not something I still practice, but it's something that definitely has gotten me to become the person that I am today, and I am grateful for it. Ended up graduating from the same high school that my parents did. They were high school sweethearts, so that's always a special thing.
And us. We also went to school together, not with Brittany's parents, but with Britt.
Yes, that's actually how we met. But, funny thing, we were not even friends until after high school, after my Kelly left on his mission. And me and Cassidy decided that that was a perfect time in both of our lives to become best friends and stay best friends for over 8 years now.
That's right. Show me your tattoo.
I am also a master esthetician. I owned my own business for a little over 5 years and really enjoyed that. I actually went back to school because I really like the business side of stuff, and I've been in school for accounting for a year. When I get back to the US, hopefully I'll be able to finish that and get a job doing accounting.
Very cool. I do think the question that everyone wants to know the answer to is, why did you come with us to Tonga?
So this is actually something that I've been trying to come to Tonga with you guys for like almost 5 years now. It was right around COVID. Originally, we were just going to come out and bring some art kits and some soccer stuff maybe, but specifically the art kits based off of your pottery business that you guys used to have. And so every year, Cassidy would be like, let's go to Tonga. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And then it'd be like, oh no, COVID, we can't go. They're close their borders. So I was like, okay, next year. Anyways, this went on for years and years, and finally my Kelly had this opportunity, and I've been saying yes for years. And so when they said, well, then let's just move there, and I said, okay. I don't have a job right now. I just moved back from Maryland. I'm single. Why not?
We had been talking about going to Tonga, just visiting for years. But why did you want to come with us even then? Because I think when we talk to people and we tell people that we moved out to Tonga, everyone always, first their question is like, where the heck is that? But also people ask why, like, why did you do that? So even just to go deliver art kits, like, what was the fascination, or like why'd you want to come?
I mean, Tonga's an island. I love traveling. I've been to a few countries. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Italy, Paris, France, Switzerland. So I've traveled around a bit. That's a big thing in my family. My parents love to travel. I've picked that up from them. And so having the opportunity to go and spend an extended amount of time on an island, I said, heck yeah, I'm in.
Makes sense. Me too. So what were your expectations when you were, like, I don't know, when we finally made plans, we booked tickets, what were your expectations going into
Or
it?
did you have any expectations?
I had very little expectations. You guys told me a little bit, and that's all I had to go off of, which was it's a poor country. They don't have the American amenities. You're going to be living like a for real island village life, and that was enough for me to mentally prepare myself, I thought. But then getting here, those first 2 weeks, that transition, that was hard. We
We don't even
definitely
talk
missed out
about
on
those
a
two
lot
weeks.
of.
I always tell my Kelly, I'm like, those are the 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks in Tonga. Britt and I just don't talk about them.
Yeah, that was rough. And especially because my Kelly was gone. So he was there for our first week, and then the 2 weeks after that he left. So me and Cassidy were mom and mom for the girls, and that was hard, being in a new country in an environment we've never been in, living with people that I had never met, didn't know very well. Their first language isn't our first language, and that also was a hard thing to become adjusted to.
Well, and also something I thought about while we were in Tonga was it also was like a huge dynamic shift in our friendship, because up until this point, not that you don't come around my family a lot or you don't spend a lot of time with my family, but like you would never babysat my kids or anything. Like I feel like I typically keep my friendships and my family life separate just because most of my friends are single, so it works out that way. So really you hadn't been like this involved with my family ever, and
Yeah,
also you had never seen me really parent this much. And now we were
that's true.
co-parenting together,
Yeah.
which was so interesting. There was one day on the beach where, because that's what Britt and I like, that was our coping mechanism, where we would just go to the beach at sunset and everything else was better. Like everything around us
Yes,
was all of a sudden
absolutely.
fixed. And we went to the
Absolutely.
beach, and one of the girls said, what did they say? They said, I think it was like, I said like we don't have rules when dad's gone or something, and then Brittany was like, yes we do, and then I was like, no, we have boundaries, and I was like,
Yeah.
we don't have rules, and then Brittany's like, kids have rules, and I was like, kids have boundaries, we don't have rules, and it was just like we had this like yeah this conflict of parenting, and we had like that was such a huge shift in our friendship,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
was and
Well,
that,
and
I don't know
you
was
had just done 6 weeks being single mom with my Kelly being in Tonga, and then we had a week with all three of us trying to figure out how to live in Tonga, and then it was just the two of us. So yeah, it was definitely just thrown at us, and that was like we hadn't really talked about our expectations, our co-parenting expectations either beforehand.
what were things that surprised you about Tonga?
Well, there was a lot of surprises. One of the first things was that you drive on the other side of the road and in the other side of the car. And I knew that I was going to be doing some driving and had heard that the driving was backwards. And the night going home from the airport, I was instantly was like, oh, this is already different. It's dark. I don't know what's going on here. I had no idea where I was, how to drive here, which now thankfully is something I'm pretty good at. That was a big one, the driving. The conveniences. I'm used to 24/7 Walmart being open and McDonald's, and if you're hungry at midnight, you can go get food. You are hungry at midnight, you can drive. That was another thing, is like sharing a car. I couldn't just leave when I wanted to. There was definitely a lot of like independence that was taken, not necessarily taken from me, but kind of lost coming here. And that's continued to be something that I have not, what, how do I word that?
Well, there was at one point when you were talking to your mom, and like we were chatting after, and you said how your mom pointed out that you had no autonomy, and
Autonomy,
I
yeah.
learned that. Yeah, I like learned that word while we were in Tonga.
Yeah. I
Like
had
you
kind
had
of
no
lost my
autonomy.
autonomy.
Yeah,
I
and
was
you
used to
felt like
being
that
27
was
and
good enough.
single, and I jumped into being mom and being like a part of your unit, which I did absolutely love, but it was very different. That was a big surprise, not really comprehending how big of a change that would be for me, going from being an adult, being in charge of all my own finances, being in charge of my own vehicle, my own plans, my day to day life, and coming to Tonga, it was very much so a family unit change, not just a independent Britany anymore.
Well, and our finances were like instantly meshed when we got to Thailand, and not Thailand.
Thailand.
Fiji.
Actually, our
I even
finances
thought
started getting meshed.
3 times. I thought 3 times. How do you pronounce it? Don't mess it up.
They're so tough.
And that changed instantly when we got to Fiji,
It
because
actually changed when we were in Texas at the airport and you didn't have a credit card and I
yeah,
had to
why
pay
did
for
I have a
the
credit card?
extra. Yeah, why didn't you leave a credit card for Cassidy, my Kelly?
What happened? Because oh yeah, that was the thing, is because I just had a bunch of cash. Basically, when you we got to the airport, our finances instantly became somewhat intertwined because
Mm-hmm.
I only had cash and no one would take it. Like
Nobody.
literally
Yeah.
no one would take it. And then, but then when we got to Fiji, then I had cash, but like you didn't have cash, and no one would
Hmm.
take your card. And so,
Yeah.
and it was no one, everyone only operated with cash. And so instantly we were like just our finances were getting intertwined, and yeah, we became one big happy family really quick.
We definitely did.
Was there at any point was there a time where you thought like, okay, like this is too hard, I'm done, I'm going home?
I got close to that when you were in Samoa. I was having a really hard time. I had met a boy right before you guys left, and
And when she says right before, it was like hours.
like 2 days before.
It
Okay,
was a couple
no,
days.
it was hours. They passed candy like a day before, and then they hung out hours before they left.
We had a group date.
And that was the day that they left, Britt. That was the
That was
day
the
that
day
they
they left.
left.
It was.
Yeah, because you left this. That was like one of the most traumatic days for me because you
That was
left.
the day when I came back.
And then Mike Kelly came
We had
home,
freedom.
and he was like, that was the day we were supposed to have like freedom for 2 days until they left. And then he came
Yeah,
home
and then
and
they
was
told
like,
us no,
I
we're
leave
leaving a day
tonight.
early.
And yeah, that was when he came home and he was like, I
Yeah.
leave tonight. And then I was like, you're kidding me. And then you left. I
forgot
literally
about
had a
that.
meltdown. And then you came home and I was like, they fucking leave tonight. And you were like, what? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, so I literally had just met a boy and
Hours.
had hung out with, well, there was a handful of boys on the team that had heard about me through my Kelly, wanted to take me out, like show me Tonga, drive me around. So I went and spent 4 hours with them on a super rainy day, seeing a lot of the sights, literally driving across the entire island, around the entire island.
Which tells you how small
And
it is.
it is it is so small.
That
It
Britt
is
could do a
so
whole island
small.
tour in 4 hours.
Yeah, round trip, not just one way, all the way back. One of the things that was really sweet and cheered me up when I did want to leave was hearing my Kelly say, Chris is asking if you're okay. Chris is asking if you're okay. Yeah.
You even remember that?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, there was like one day where Britt was crying in her room, and I texted Mike Kelly and I told him that she was crying, and then he went and told Chris that you were crying, and then he was worried about her after that. So then he frequently asked.
Yeah, he kept asking. Like he would come to me. Like if you weren't texting him back, he'd like come over to me and he'd be like, "Hey, is she okay?" And then yeah, like we'd check in with you, and that's really good.
Yeah, there was a time that I was very tempted to go back home. I was missing my warm showers. I was missing my normal toilets, my normal sinks, my normal kitchen, a fridge. We didn't have a fridge. We did have a freezer, but that
Which was
was
not as helpful as you thought as you would
no.
think that it would be.
I'd rather have a fridge than a freezer for sure. Yeah, it was a big adjustment. It was really hard. It was really hard.
Well, and there was one day, so that day that I think that day that you were crying was like probably maybe 2 days in after they had left for Fiji and Samoa. And I
I
remember
think
because
it
I
was
was,
at the start of the second week.
yeah, because I was sick
Because
though. And you had,
yeah,
yeah,
you had
because
just
I
gotten off
got
your period.
sick. Yeah, I got sick. The girls got sick. And that's why I'm saying we don't talk about those 2 weeks. It was really dark.
It was rough.
Yeah. And then,
I
like,
was sick too.
and then I
I was sick
also,
too.
yeah, you were sick, and then I think you had tried to do some yoga that day outside, and you got flagged for modesty, and you were like,
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And then you were like, it's so funny because yeah, you were, I think you had kind of been talking to, I don't know, a few of the boys, but even that you were like, I don't even think I could ever marry a Tongan. And then
I remember telling my mom straight
Chris
up
reached
within
out.
that first 2 weeks, I was like, Mom,
Yeah.
don't let me marry a Tongan. Like it's not, I can't do this. It's not happening. And that's something still my mom brought up like a couple weeks ago. Like, Brittany, you told me not to let you marry a Tongan. I'm like, yeah, I changed my mind.
Well, it was so funny because instantly once you started, because you even told me when we went to the beach on one of our darkest days, you told me, I don't think I'll stay another, like a full, like, I think you said, I
I
can
think
stay
I was
one
gonna
more
stay a
month.
month.
Yeah, you were like,
A month
you're
or
like, I
two,
think
yeah.
I have 1 month in me. You were like, I think that that's what I can do. And then
Yeah.
instantly after you started talking to Chris, it was like, Well, maybe I could stay a little longer.
And fast forward four
Yep.
months later.
And fast forward 4 months later. At this point, that was August. It's been almost 6 months that you've been there.
Yeah, this week is 6 months for me. I think in like 3 or 4 days. So crazy. Yeah, and I am actually, my visa expires this week. I do fly back to the US on Saturday. It's a 23-hour flight. Well, travel time. I'm flying into Fiji, have a 4-hour layover, and then from Fiji to Texas, have another, I think that one's only a 2-hour layover, and then Texas to Salt Lake.
I'm sure everyone is dying to know. I mean, we started the podcast off like this. You met a boy. How did you meet this boy? Who is he?
Did you go into this expecting to find love? Were you looking for love? Yeah, how did
That
you
was
meet
something that
Chris?
we
Tell us
joked
about it.
about, was Tonga being Britany's Love Island. Britany's just gonna go and date a lot of
Yeah.
boys, and I was actually really excited for that. I had just gotten out of like a 3-year long distance relationship and was very happy to be single. And meeting these boys, I was super excited and super nervous. My Kelly's like, Britt, come on, you gotta bring them some candy. Here they call them lollies. So I come up and I'm like, does anybody want some lollies? And the first person I offer it to, he tells me no. But the first person I offer it to is the guy that caught my attention. So then I was like, oh, nuts. He said no. So I give it to everyone else. And then I come back to him. And then he took all the rest of the candy.
All the
And that
lollies.
also, that was my first time really seeing this guy, Chris. He is now my fiance. That's something I ask him
Christopher
often. What do
Kefu.
you, Christopher Kefu? I ask
Yeah.
him, what were your first thoughts of me? Like, what did you think? Because my Kelly came back to the car after talking to them, and he said, Chris just said, "Thank you, my Kelly," and that that was like the best thing that he could have said to me. And that made me so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. He like just thanked my Kelly for meeting me. So that was that was crazy exciting. And I was not expecting at all to get engaged here, stay here longer than you guys.
It was meant to be Britney's Love Island. That
It
was the
definitely was
plan. It
meant
was
to be
supposed to be
Brittany's
Britney's
Love
Love
Island.
Island. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely had the intentions of coming out and dating as many guys as I could and just enjoying it because I didn't want to get married. And that was, again, something that I told my mom that first couple weeks here, don't let me marry a Tongan. I can't do this. And I found a good one, a really good one. There was actually, here's a
And
funny
that's
story.
what
We
I
were
told
out
you.
in, yeah,
I
we
told
were
you, you
out
just have to
in
find a good one.
Nuku'alofa. Yeah, he is a good one. We were out in Nuku'alofa one night, just at like one of the little street vendors, getting food, walking around together. And Chris came up to me after we got our food, and he's like, "This old man was just telling me that I must be a good Tongan if I got a Palangi, which is a white person, a white girl." So I was like, you are a good one," and that's been a funny thing. Like, you're a good one. You got me. You're a good one.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, Chris is a good one. And I like, and that's one thing that a lot of people have been surprised that I think a little bit that you fell in love so fast. I think your parents were very surprised when
What
you
are you
got
doing?
engaged.
We got the neighbors. Yeah. He's
Yo.
seen you before. He recognized you. Oh, do you remember the time that we were driving around and me and you got out to go to the ATMs and someone yelled, "Hey, are you my Kelly? I follow you.
I follow you on Instagram.
Follow you on Instagram."
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
that was so funny.
we're doing a podcast. Do you know what a podcast is? Sounds
Okay,
about
Brett.
right. Yes.
So tell us about Chris.
But yeah, wait. What do I say about Chris? He is a really good soccer player. We had about 2 days of knowing each other before you guys went to Fiji and then Samoa. I followed him on Instagram because, you know, being an American, that's the main thing you ask for people's Instagrams. I actually got it from from my Kelly tagged him in a post. And I was like, ooh, let's go to that picture, follow him.
Like a true
And
stalker. Just kidding.
yeah, a couple days later, he still hadn't accepted my friend request and or followed me back, I think. And so I told my Kelly, I was like, dude, like I don't know what to do. I want to talk to Chris, but he hasn't followed me back. And he said, okay, I'll tell him. And then he got on Instagram, followed me back. Instagram is not as big of a thing out here. It's all Facebook, lots and lots of Facebook. So yeah, we talked on Instagram, and there's so much. Do I
And he started
expose him?
messaging you after you were sad.
Yeah, he asked how I was doing. He knew that I was sad. He very quickly told me he loved me. Very
Like
quickly,
so
and
fast.
I was a little
So fast.
hesitant. There's another guy who had, within about 2 hours of us talking, told me that he loved me and wanted to marry me. That was a big no for me. But then Chris, within a week, had told me he loved me and wanted to bring me home.
And he did.
And he did. He brought me home. I've been living at his house for the past 4 months.
And it was like literally, so when they got back though, how quickly
Okay, that story. Okay,
did he
so we
take
go to
you
the
home?
airport. We go to pick up the boys,
Which
and that
Brittany
was something like,
absolutely told me that she had to go to the airport because I was gonna just go and leave the girls at home with her and just go pick up my Kelly because they came home at like midnight and Britt
yeah,
was like, "Nope, I'm coming,"
I'm
and
going.
like took a shower before, did her hair, and came and we got the girls in the car and we like at midnight drove across the island to go
Drove
pick them up.
45 minutes to the airport. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was. Me and Chris had been talking, and I really wanted to see him.
And he told you to
That
be
was.
there,
Yeah, he asked if I was gonna be there. I told him yes, so I made Cassidy take me and the girls. That night, that was really cute. He got off the airplane, came out, came up and gave me a big hug, and then was like, come over and meet my brother. His little brother was there, and he got into his bag and pulled out a little flower to put in my ear. He said, I got one for you and one for my mom. So that was really sweet too, because just like our first one on one interaction, he was giving me a gift. It was very cute, very sweet.
and then instantly she was like,
And
"Maybe I will marry a Tongan."
maybe I need to reconsider my options here.
Maybe
And I
Tonga
asked him when I
doesn't.
was,
Maybe I have more than a month in me. Maybe it's not
yeah,
so bad.
no, for real. That was like me going to the airport that night definitely changed my perspective of being in Tonga.
It was so funny because I think in like several different conversations, at one point you told me like I think I have a month in me, and then you told me like I think I can stay for 3 months, and then that's it. Then I need to. That's all I can afford. And then it was like I'm not ready to go home yet. I think I need to stay till at least November. And then it was like actually I'm still not ready to go home. I yeah I. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was so crazy because I wasn't sure if you were gonna stay with me the whole time, but then I also didn't like know what I would do if I had to like leave you there, which is what kind of
Yeah.
ended up happening. But yeah, like it was
Yeah.
kind of crazy how quickly things were moving and like how it was really
It did.
crazy
It
because
did
you
move
got
very fast.
yeah,
Very fast.
because after they came home from Samoa, you guys yeah continue
Yeah.
on
So
what
I
happened.
asked him, I said, when's the next time I get to see you? This was Wednesday night, I think.
I have no
So it
idea.
was gonna be Thursday, Friday, and then they had a game on Saturday. And
Yeah,
he told me to come to the game on Saturday, and I was like, okay, I can make it 3 days. That's not too long. Like, I'm excited to see him again. And then the next day, we're out driving around. It was raining a ton. We're driving around. We're in Veitongo, which is where the soccer association is. We came to Veitongo a lot. It's also where Chris lives. And we're driving down the road, and Cassidy's like, are you sure you don't want to see him? Like, we can literally just pull over and ask somebody where he lives. And I was like, no, that's like way too forward. I'm not getting out and asking anybody. She said, I think we should. And then I just like covered my mouth, sat in the back, and was like, oh my gosh, this is like, she's getting out of the car to ask somebody where Chris lives. So you did. You got out of the car. We found out where he lived. We pull up in front of his house,
which was like
and
literally like across the street.
across the street from where we asked where
Yeah,
he
they were
lived,
like, yeah, they were like, Khaleesi Kefu, right there.
right there. Literally right there, right next to the
It was
church.
just across the street, yeah.
Yeah, so we pull up in front of his house. We're sitting on the road. I'm sitting in the car. I'm like, is it that house or that house or that house? I'm not sure. And then Chris comes running out in the rain through the puddles of mud and up to the car.
Movie.
It was
Literally straight out of the Notebook.
it was
It was
magical.
literally Brittany was like, I can't do it, I can't do it. Like she was looking at me, and then we were like, is that Chris? And he's like slow motion running through the rain,
Wasn't his shirt
through the
off?
mud. No, he was wearing his Tonga
He had
jacket.
his long
Yeah, he
sleeve
had his
red
Tonga jacket on, but he literally just like came running out, and then he was like, "Come on, Britt, like come meet my mom." And we were like,
literally come meet my mom.
and then I
Yeah, so
literally was crying as we drove to town to my Kelly because I was like, "That was like a movie. I'm so happy for her." I was like, "That was literally like the most romantic." Straight out of, I don't think Nicholas Sparks could even write something so, beautiful.
romantic.
It was so romantic. So romantic.
So I go in, I meet the family, kind of knowing some Tongan culture. It's a really big thing for the sisters to accept girls for the brothers. I met his older sister, the Fahu, and she instantly was like, I like you, you should stay. She asked me, like, when are you going home? And I was like, meaning back to Kolovai. When was Cassidy and Kelly coming to get me? And I said, I don't know, maybe in like a couple hours. And she said, why? Why don't you stay longer? Also, talking to his mom, I met his mom, and she told me, Chris came home last night. We made him some food and we're all up talking. And he said, Mom, I have a girlfriend. She's Palangi and I want to bring her home. And she told me that first day too. We sat outside drinking kava, which was a funny thing because I wasn't allowed to drink it because I'm a girl. But I was serving the kava. Oh, there was a funny story. I don't know how many of these stories you want to put in there. I'm just telling you them. But we were at church the other day and it was the back to school day. So we were wearing our school uniforms. I dressed up as Queen Salote's college. Queen Salote's college, which is one of the like high-end all-girls colleges. And Chris dressed up as, is it Atele? Atele, which
There.
is they're just hanging out with me, the same boys. Yeah. It's
They're like,
helpful.
yeah, that checks out. They're like fact checking your story.
Yeah. They're making sure I'm telling the right story. But we dressed up as like matching colleges, the boy and girl colleges, took pictures with everybody. That was super fun. And then one of the older guys came up to me and was like, Brittany, come here. You need to come to Sunday school. And he takes me over and wants me to start serving kava for all the men. And I was like, no, I'm going home to eat. Chris was like, Brittany, get out of there. You're not being kava girl. I was not okay with that.
No kava tahine for Brittany.
Yeah, that was funny.
So you met Chris. Things have been amazing for you, right?
Yeah.
What's been your favorite part about everything?
Your favorite part of what's been your favorite part about living in Tonga? Besides, well, not maybe besides Chris, but
Chris. Chris has been my
I think
favorite
that's
part.
honestly the only reason why you're there.
Yeah.
For sure.
What made you? Because obviously you and Chris, so you're engaged, and and I don't, and we've kind of I think mentioned that, or at least breadcrumbed that. What influenced like your decision to get engaged?
That was a very fast process. Chris was telling me when he was in Samoa that he loved me. Chris was asking me to come stay at his house really quick, and took a lot of breaks from Kalavai by going to stay in Beitongo with Chris and his family. The very first day that I stayed there, his mom was like, it's your room. It's not even Chris's room. It used to be Chris and his little brother. They shared the room, and once I was there, it was now Brittany's room. They accepted me in with open arms and have been very accepting and respectful of my culture and the way I was raised. So they haven't given me any judgment for anything, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's why Chris's house also became such a safe haven for you because his family was really good at accepting you and your Palangi ways. What led to you and Chris deciding to get engaged, especially after you said so many times that you were not going to do that?
Yeah, it was really fast, but we absolutely fell in love very, very fast. I didn't want to leave. Wanted to literally spend all my time at Chris's house. I wanted to move in with Chris and just like live his life, live life with him. And honestly, maybe like 4 or 5 days after I had been thinking that and been wanting to do that, you guys let me know that you were moving back to the US. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I had just booked a plane ticket home for the end of January so that I could extend my visa. And I was not sure, like, I could move my plane ticket up. Did I want to do that? Did I want to stay with Chris? And me and Cassidy had talked about how her parents had kind of done the whole, what do you call that?
K-
Immigration.
The K1 visa, the international marriage and all of that. And she said that one of the hardest things for her mom was not having any family there or anything for the wedding and stuff. And me and Cassidy talked, and I was like, I really, like, I do want to marry this guy. Why not just get engaged before you guys leave? And actually, Chris's mom left like a day or two after you
yeah.
to go to Australia for 3 months. And I was like, well, I want his mom to be there while we get engaged. I'm leaving the end of January. She won't be home yet. So, like, I want his mom there and I want my best friend there. So, that was kind of the timing for that. It was pretty quick, but we also knew pretty quick that we wanted to get married. So,
Yeah, and we
more
were
details are
there, and it
expected.
was beautiful. It was a beautiful engagement on Britt's golden birthday, which was even
Yeah.
better, which was also, I felt like, so cool because we had had so many planning sessions about what we were going to do for your golden birthday. We had talked about going on so many different trips, and it was so crazy because I don't think either of us could have expected that we would have celebrated it in Tonga and you getting engaged, which was
Yeah.
very cool.
It's crazy.
It is so last year was
Life
such
is
a crazy year, I think, for all of us.
So do
for sure.
you, I mean, now you're engaged to a soccer player. Do you like soccer now? Or did you before?
Were
What are
you
you
even a
at?
soccer fan before this?
I actually did not like soccer before. I had played for a year or two when I was little, like 9 and 10 years old. I hated running, I hated soccer, I didn't understand it, never cared for it. I mean, obviously, when my Kelly tried out for the team, I was like, okay, like, we're going for soccer. I got to get into it. So, my Kelly, thank you. You actually got me into soccer.
Do
But
you feel
you've
bad for
left
not
me
going to
here.
more of his games in high school?
No.
Oh my gosh.
You were on drill team. You don't feel bad for not dancing at his games?
No, nobody dances at soccer games. That's not a thing.
Well, maybe they
I
should
could.
have. They could
That'd be
have.
like dancing at wrestling. We went to one wrestling match while I was on drill, and I think I went
So
to
you did
one
dance for
At
maybe.
wrestling?
least we have a
No, we didn't
halftime.
dance. We just watched. We just watched. But I think I went
Well,
to
it's
one or
so
two soccer
weird.
games. Shut up. So thank you, my Kelly, for getting me into soccer.
My
But you've
Kelly, I
left me now.
invited you.
You've left me now. So it has been Chris who has continued my interest in soccer. I actually really enjoy taking videos of him at games and kind of making little highlight videos and stuff. So that's been super fun. I still don't understand it fully, but I think like I've got the concept down now. I know mostly what's going on.
You just
I
kick
know
the
that
ball in the
two
net. Keep the
two
other
whistle
kid from
blows
kicking in
means
your net.
time. Yeah, but offsides, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. I know that one, and that's about it. That's like the only rule that I've picked up on.
Not much else than that. Just don't hurt anybody.
Yeah, that which happens often in Tongan soccer. There's always people getting, is it called PK?
Yeah. Well, that is probably the one that you're thinking
It's
of.
when a foul occurs in the box.
Yeah. Yeah, and they get basically a free shot.
Yeah, that's a PK. What has been the absolute hardest part about being in Tonga, and what has been your absolute favorite parts?
Absolute hardest part hasn't even. How do I word this? Doesn't even have to do with Tonga. The absolute hardest part doesn't even have to do with Tonga. It's been missing my family. I've spent 6 months away from them, and that's the longest that I've spent away from them. What do you love about Tonga? What do you love about Tonga?
Love about Tonga? Nah, family.
Oh, that was cute. He said family. That's a good answer. Good boy.
A good answer.
I think one of the hardest things about Tonga for me is the language. I have not picked up as much Tongan as I've wanted to. And I mean, a lot of Tongans do speak English and I can get by, but you don't get to have good conversations, quality conversations. That's been hard.
Has it been really weird going from living such an independent life to like
Living the village life.
living in the village life? Because you were very
Absolutely.
independent 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
Like extremely independent.
Yeah, there was one day Chris was at home sleeping after working a night shift, and we had the car at the house, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the beach. Whatever. I go to the beach, I come home, and Chris is like, where did you go? I said, I went to the beach. He's like, no, you can't do that by yourself. I said, why? I'm okay. Like, I didn't even get in the water. It's fine. Like, the waves were a little crazy, so I didn't get in. It's fine. He's like, no, you can't be going around. Tongans are crazy. You can't be doing that. So kind of having those boundaries has definitely been different, been hard.
Yeah.
Having other people's opinions on what I do and don't do.
Sharing your stuff.
All of my stuff.
There was one day in Tonga where Britt came over to me and said, am I a bad person for not wanting to share? Specifically in reference to noodles. She was like, am I a bad person for not wanting to share noodles? Like,
No,
these
for
are my
real.
noodles. Like, I do not want to share them. And I was like, I don't know.
It's a cultural difference.
Him was coming your birthday in Tonga.
You met him?
See him.
Yeah.
No, I see him.
You saw him. Yeah, he was here for my birthday. You were at the house?
In the house.
When I got engaged to Chris? Yeah. Yeah, they recognize you guys.
That's good.
That's good.
Do they want to say hi to the camera
Do you guys want to come say hi to the camera?
and be in our
Do it.
podcast?
Just come and say hi.
Say, "Mate ma'atunga."
Yeah, you guys gotta say, hello from Tonga.
I'm from Tonga.
Hi from
Hi from Tonga.
You guys want to
That's
say
great.
malo, or do you want to say mate Tonga?
Mate Tonga.
Of course.
Yeah. Malo apito.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bro, we're gonna wrap this up. One final question. You've been through a really crazy journey. You've done some really cool things. Would you do it again?
Absolutely, absolutely. I will be coming back to Tonga. I do
That's
love
awesome. And you're getting married in the U.S. soon.
it. Yep, we're
Yeah, what's
working
your
on.
plan? Tell us what's next for you and Chris.
We are working on his K1 visa. That's the 90-day fiance visa. Since we are engaged, we are, what's the word? Eligible for that. So we're
TV
hoping
show?
to be back in the US, well, to be in the US the end of May or beginning of June and get married the middle of August. And then hopefully go down to Texas to play some soccer.
Play for Voyagers.
Yes.
So cool.
Yes.
Voyager season 1. It's coming up.
Chris will be our first Tongan player.
That's great. I'm so excited for you guys. Thank you, Britt, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for going
Yes,
to
thank
Tonga
you.
with us. We couldn't have done it
You're
without
welcome.
you. There's
You're
absolutely
welcome.
no way that I would have made it, even through, honestly, I think I would have turned back around at LAX. I don't even think I would have got off the plane. So
That was
I absolutely couldn't have survived, especially those 2 weeks where they were in Fiji and Samoa. I could not have survived without you. And I'm so excited for you to come home, and we're so excited for you and Chris. And we are so grateful we've been able to be a part of your journey, even and just this beautiful story that you and Chris have been writing. And we can't wait to chat more with you about that later.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions for Britt or anything that you want to know a little bit more details on, definitely send us a message. You guys can follow Britt or Chris on social media. We'll put their accounts in the show notes below.
If you want to follow their love story.
I'm sure they'll be posting a lot more videos about that.
And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Opatu.